What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with another video. It's the first Raw after WrestleMania Backlash, so what fallout can fans expect to see? Well, join us now as we look at this week's edition of Raw, as well as the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including two huge WWE superstars with injuries, new sets coming from Raw and SmackDown, a women's hair versus hair match, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Now, as always, we aren't recapping the matches, but just providing you with the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. As always, we start off with the good as number 1, Kofi Mania 2. Is the WWE Universe about to see Kofi Mania 2? Well, a surprise pinfall win over WWE Champion Bobby Lashley was an exciting moment that had to have fans excited and jumping off their couches. Not only did Kingston pin Lashley on Raw, he pinned Randy Orton, arguably the number 2 heel on Raw right now. So is Kofi back in the main event picture? Well, if so, all we can say it's about damn time. Kofi was robbed out of the WWE Championship when Lesnar squashed him in seconds. This win wasn't just big for Kofi, it was big for Raw as it provided a much needed fresh face in the championship picture. As good as Lashley has been as champion, his seemingly endless matches with Drew McIntyre and Braun Strowman have really grown tired. Now, although Kofi's win may seem like it came out of nowhere, the man is a former WWE champion and fans have been clamoring for him to re-enter the main event. Now, as distressing as it sounds, there aren't many fresh faces on Raw to challenge Lashley, so Kofi is actually a very clever choice. Not only that, but it was a fantastic feat in rocketing Kofi back into the main event by having him pin Lashley, a wrestler who gets pinned about as often as Raw storylines make sense. Now, our only fear is that the WWE will likely have Lashley murderize Kofi in order to set up a Hell in a Cell match between Drew and Bobby. Ugh, snooze. Number 2, Ricochet vs Sheamus was awesome. The Ricochet-Sheamus match was nothing short of awesome, with both men showing an undeniable chemistry in the ring. As we noted before, Sheamus doesn't always work well against high flyers, but he and Ricochet are pure magic in the ring. Now, the WWE has something special here, and if it wants to restore Ricochet's credibility, a feud against the Celtic Warrior and eventual US Championship win would be a wise way to do so. Number 3, enough is enough. Damian Priest's statement that he's finished wrestling John Morrison and The Miz was a breath of fresh air for fans who are sick and tired of seeing endless rematches in WWE. The Archer of Infamy has nothing left to prove by beating either man, so having him come out and say things are over was a good way to take Priest in a new direction. A Priest's hint that he might take Bobby Lashley up on his open challenge was a tantalizing turn of events, and while he's not quite ready for the Almighty, it drives home the point that Priest has a big goal. But that was the good. What about the bad? As number 1, bait and switch. Now, while Kofi's pinfall win over Lashley was a good move, the WWE's bait and switch with the Almighty making an open challenge only for it to become a non-title match served no purpose other than to anger fans who expected a title match. The champion has been dominant, and despite being a heel, he's also been a fighting champion, putting the title on the line on more than a regular basis. Now, while we understand that WWE wanted to set up Kofi for a title match with Lashley, they never should have teased it would be a title match, instead making it clear that it was a non-title match. They created enough ill will with its ridiculous zombie segment on Backlash and then promised a big main event throughout the night only to change it at the end. Fans who stayed tuned for a title match couldn't have been happy and are less likely to believe any future main events the WWE hypes. Number 2, Roll-Up Raw. Now, roll-ups are a good way for a WWE superstar to score a surprise win on distracted opponents, but not when it happens 4 damn times on Raw. Now, we've complained about WWE's cut-and-paste booking before, and it was in the spotlight last night with 4 finishes involving roll-ups. This is beyond lazy booking. It's both bad and boring booking that ruins a show's credibility. Sadly, this isn't the first time that WWE has gone through a phase of endless roll-ups, but it needs to stop immediately. Number 3, Charlotte counters nothing. Last night's Charlotte vs Asuka match was another match marred by a roll-up finish, but it was still a good one overall, but other than the slip-up from Charlotte where she backflipped and fell face first. Now, mistakes happen in wrestling, but the announcers' attempt to cover it up only made it more obvious when they tried to pass Flair's flop as they're countering Asuka's offense. And the only thing missing from this blunder was Vince McMahon shouting, "What a maneuver!" Number 4, wretched Raw Tag Team Division. Now, the WWE's Raw Tag Team Division is nothing short of awful, particularly the pairing of AJ Styles and Omos. Now, on paper, the Phenomenal One and Monster-like Omos make a formidable pair, one reminiscent of teams such as Owen and Yokozuna or Shawn Michaels and Diesel. However, it seems like the WWE has buyer's remorse and they realize that Omos isn't ready for limited spots in tag team bouts, let alone full competition. but the WWE refuses to acknowledge its mistakes and instead has kept the belts on the troubled team while keeping them out of the ring as much as possible. It's a terrible move, and even worse, the choice of teams to beat them for the title is limited, with Elias and Riker as well as the Viking Raiders seeming to be the only options. Now, there is always the New Day, but that seems unlikely with Kofi Kingston apparently chasing Lashley for the championship. Number 5, that tired triple threat trope. Last night's Raw promo by Drew McIntyre, where the Scottish Warrior argued he wasn't pinned at Backlash's triple threat match for the championship, was a prime example of how the WWE struggles to protect its babyfaces. Now, in case you missed it, McIntyre complained that since he wasn't pinned, he should still be the #1 contender for the title. Now, while that argument may work for heels, it doesn't work for babyfaces. Just makes him seem like some whining child. Number 6, wasted potential. Last night's meaningless match between Angel Garza and Drew Gulak was the epitome of wasted talent, as what should have been a show-stealing match degenerated into a contest over who could shove a rose in each other's mouths. Now, there was nothing downright ugly about last night's show, but there were far too many bad segments, especially for a Raw following a fantastic pay-per-view. No matter how many good things the WWE does on Raw, it somehow finds a way to overshadow them with garbage, a classic case of one step forward and 2 steps back. Now, Raw isn't going to improve overnight, but why not at least strive for 2 steps forward and 1 step back? What did you guys think of Raw? Let us know in the comments down below. Now, let's move on to the news. Now, first story looks at 2 huge WWE superstars injured. Is The Miz dead? Well, that's the implication John Morrison made on Raw following The Miz's loss at Backlash against Damian Priest. Last night's Raw saw Jim Morrison dedicate his match against Damian Priest to The Miz's memory, hinting at the finish The Miz was last seen being attacked by a horde of zombies. Now, in reality, the A-lister was injured during the bout, something which Dave Meltzer reported on, saying, okay, so he tore his ACL, but we don't know the severity of the tear. The last I heard is it might be a partial tear, so that might not be that serious. If it is a full tear, you know that's surgery and probably, 7, 8, 9 months off. Now, Wrestling News' Andrew Ravens noted that the injury happened when Priest did a kick off the top rope and landed on Miz's leg. We hope The Miz is okay and makes a fast recovery, but The Miz may not be the only superstar who was injured at WrestleMania Backlash. And while the details are sketchy, Mark Middleton is reporting Braun Strowman may have suffered an injury to his ribs during the Raw brand main event of Sunday's WrestleMania Backlash pay-per-view, which saw WWE Champion Bobby Lashley retain his title over Strowman and Drew McIntyre in a triple threat. Middleton pointed out that while MVP claimed Strowman suffered broken ribs, it could be a storyline excuse for him being off television, and that Strowman hasn't commented on social media about any injuries. Hopefully Strowman isn't injured, but if he is, we hope he makes a fast recovery. Next up, a women's hair versus hair match. Hair versus hair matches are a rarity in the WWE, particularly with the WWE's females. The last time they booked one was in 2020 when Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose broke up. However, circumstances outside the ring changed the match into a loser leaves the WWE match. Now, Brian Alvarez of the Wrestling Observer thinks they might be setting up a hair versus hair match between SmackDown Women's Champion Bianca Belair and Bayley. This is based off their finish to the Backlash match. Bianca beat her using the hair. That finish was botched, but you got the idea. I don't know if this is going to lead to a hair versus hair match, but I have a feeling that Bayley is going to put her hair on the line against a ponytail and probably get shaved bald. That would be my guess. Would you guys like to see this? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, a wrestling legend passes away. I was sad to report that former NWA World Tag Team Champion Don Canodle passed away at age 71 last night. Best known for his work in Jim Crockett Promotions, Canodle also worked in the WWF and several indie federations. He appeared in Sylvester Stallone's 1978 film Paradise Alley and worked as a deputy sheriff after wrestling. We'd like to send our heartfelt condolences to his friends and family. And finally, new sets for Raw and SmackDown. And last but not least, lots of rumors concerning the plans for the WWE to resume live events with fans present, including one that the WWE plans on having new sets for both Raw and SmackDown. Andrew Zarian from the Mat Men podcast reported that both the Red Brand and Blue Brand will have new sets. Now, this is a good idea as it could help add momentum to the WWE's relaunch of live events. Let's hope it's something interesting other than just one huge LED screen. Would you guys like to see new sets for Raw and SmackDown? Let us know in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.